In the crypto space, no two charts look the same. And this is true across other sectors of the market as well. But sometimes you find two charts that share enough similarities that you could say that they rhyme. And so that's what I wanted to talk to you about tonight, which is the relationship between Bitcoin and gold and how gold on a certain time frame looks very similar to what Bitcoin's going through now. And I don't think that's necessarily an accident when you consider what has just come out about Bitcoin. You have BlackRock calling it a risk off asset. I don't know if you've seen this article, but I'm going to go ahead and show it to you. Basically, um, it says according to BlackRock, Bitcoin has now transitioned into a risk off asset. This positions it as a viable global monetary alternative. Meanwhile, Ethereum is still considered risk on. So yeah, I mean, BlackRock coming out and calling Bitcoin risk off is a big deal. So I think I'd like to discuss kind of what that means for Bitcoin, Bitcoin dominance, and crypto in general, as well as look at something kind of fascinating with the gold chart. So this is crypto simulation theory. I am the Gaussian snake. Nothing I talk about is meant to be financial advice. It is purely for your enjoyment, and you do with it what you please. So we'll go ahead and get started and look at this comparison of Bitcoin to gold. And like I said, this chart is not the same chart, right? Like in the same time frame or anything, but this is gold down here below on also on a weekly time. This is, I guess, a 2-week time frame for gold. It doesn't really matter. It's smoothed out, whatever. You can see that it kind of had like this distribution phase back in my camera did that a lot earlier than it usually does. It had this distribution phase back in August of 2011, and then it had a secondary top in 2012. And there was like a dip, not too altogether different from what happened with Bitcoin in 2021. It had a top in 2021, a little bit of a pullback, and then it rose to a secondary top. Now, granted, with gold, this was a lower high. With Bitcoin, this was a slightly higher high, but the structure is similar, and it slid into a bear market into 2022. Gold also slid into a bear market into a bottom in 2015. And then notice that Bitcoin put in its lows, gold put in its lows in 2015, and then started to march its way back up gradually. Now, obviously, these charts don't look identical. They don't look exactly the same, but there's enough similarities. You have like a cup and handle formation where the previous high was taken out, right? The high in August of 2020 took out the high in August of 2011, but it was just a slightly higher high. And then there was some crabbing that happened, a little bit of a drop, just like we had some crabbing that happened here. And after the April 2024 top with Bitcoin, a little bit of a drop, and then a grind back up higher. A little bit of consolidation right here, a little bit of consolidation right here. And now gold is breaking out again. Bitcoin is not. But could our next leg look something like this? I think it could. I think that is actually a likely scenario to play out. But just pointing out that you can find fractals that look similar, and this one is quite remarkable because this fractal with gold, pretty much, and you can ignore this free telegram at the snake pit thing. It's called crypto simulation theory. But anyways, yeah, we have like this like decade long cup followed by another multiple year handle and then a breakout. Now, the reason I bring this up is because gold is clearly a risk off asset, right? We know that. But Bitcoin has just been labeled a risk off asset. What implications does that have for Bitcoin going forward? One thing I was kind of curious about, considering that gold has been the gold standard against hedge against inflation, now we have BlackRock coming out and saying that, you know what, actually, there's another hedge against inflation, and that is gold. I mean, as Bitcoin, digital gold. How are these two assets correlating with each other in terms of the way they run? So what I've done is I pulled up, we have the Bitcoin chart here dating all the way back to its inception. We have the gold chart here, and then we have a correlation study in the middle. And the correlation study is going to tell us how correlated price movements of Bitcoin and gold really are. So like as gold goes up, does Bitcoin also go with it? And so we're looking at Bitcoin versus gold here, suggesting whatever gold does is either positively or negatively, or maybe not correlated at all with one asset to the. So what we see is that looking in 2010, what was going on in 2010 with gold? Gold was clearly in a bull market, right? This was a bull market lasting all the way to 2011. What was Bitcoin doing? Bitcoin was also in a bull market, right? And Bitcoin's bull market ended right around the same time that gold did. But then look at what happened. We had another bull market, where Bitcoin went into the 2013 and 2014 bull market. Gold was actually in a bear market. And then Bitcoin went into a bear market of its own from 2014 to 2015, and gold was still in a bear market. And then you can see the correlation was in the red, right? There was a brief period where they were both kind of going sideways, and that gave you the green, positive correlation. And then the bull market for Bitcoin started, and you could say that a small, this was almost like a 2019 style bounce from, what happened to Bitcoin in 2019, kind of like an echo bull. A little bit of a bull market in coming out of that move. This was 2015, 2016. Bitcoin's in a clear bull market. Gold is ranging. And then when Bitcoin reaches its peak, gold reached a much less dramatic peak. Bitcoin was clearly outperforming it. And then both dropped. Okay, both dropped. The correlation was still very positive. And then Bitcoin was going up and then came down. And the correlation was actually very strong all throughout 2020. And then in 2021, there was this huge divergence where Bitcoin went up, but gold actually ranged. And just pretty much ranged. Gold was ranging, and then Bitcoin dropped, gold dropped, Bitcoin went up, gold went up, and they have been very positively correlated ever since. And so this is kind of another reason why I suspect that Bitcoin's next move could mirror gold's in a lot of ways. It's following a very similar path at the moment. You can see how heavily correlated it is on a monthly time frame. One of the implications of the Bitcoin ETF and the risk-off status of Bitcoin, I think, is that it's going to have a more stable price appreciation and depreciation, meaning that it's just going to become less volatile in general with longer, more protracted parabolic periods, I believe. And I actually think we're in one of those right now, and a lot of people don't even realize it. I actually think our cycle could extend well into 2026 because of that, but also a diminished downside as well. So I could see Bitcoin going through these growth spurts, and it goes through these like crab markets, but maybe we don't really see any gigantic drops with Bitcoin for a very long time. You can see Bitcoin dominance initially started near 100% before altcoins were created. And then in 2018, we saw the first major drop of Bitcoin dominance, got a double top in 2020 and 2021, had this double bottom in 2021 and 2022. And now we have come up to the 786 fib. This could be the top for dominance. I'm open-minded to that. And I think we're going to see this roll over in, this year. But I actually think, what's going to happen over time with Bitcoin dominance is it's going to become kind of an oscillator, and it will find a level to kind of bounce around at. What is the level that it's going to do that? It's really anybody's guess. Obviously, we have some pretty strong support here at the 60% level, or a little bit below it, like 58% level. But we could see Bitcoin dominance come down. Maybe I would say it could be in this range here. It's really hard to say, but we could range in this area and just kind of asymptotically approach something, whether that's 50% or 45%. I don't know the exact number. I don't think it'll be super high, but I also don't think it'll be super low. I don't think these lows will get taken out. So I think Bitcoin dominance is going to oscillate over time as showing that Bitcoin will always remain relevant in the space and will always drive the crypto market forward. In fact, I could even see periods, and we're even having one of those now, which I'll show you in a second. When in doubt, zoom out. And I think the effects of the institutionalization of Bitcoin are only going to get stronger. Institutions own around, I think, around 6%, 6 to 7% of the total Bitcoin supply. But you can see what's been happening over time with these upward movements of Bitcoin, like in the initial capitalization. Look at the slope of that growth, right? That was during the initial capitalization period. And then you can see the slope flattened a little bit more on the next one. This was a 2013 bull market. And then the 2017 bull market. I need to take the magnet off. A little flatter, right? And then we had the 2021 bull market. Even flatter. And we have our current bull market. Well, I didn't really fully extend this one. Let me just fix that. Extend that to, we'll say like right here. Oh, you know what? We'll just go to this top. Let's go top to top. That works out a lot better. Now we don't really exactly know where this one's going to top, but imagine it would also be pretty flat. So this is the general shape. This is logarithmic growth. And so what makes your asset start to slow down would be something like institutionalization, and it starts to become very stable. And I think that's what we're seeing now as we're entering into a period of increased stability of price, but at the same time, slower appreciation. And I think you may see periods in the market where Bitcoin decouples from the altcoin market. I feel like elevated Bitcoin dominance is, kind of suggests that anyways. But where the Bitcoin can kind of do its thing, and maybe altcoins bleed very heavily. That's certainly happening right now. And like I said, Bitcoin kind of decouples itself. Similarly to like what's happening between Bitcoin and the stock market right now, where the stock market's doing really well, but Bitcoin's kind of lagging behind. I think we may see a similar phenomenon sort of really make itself quite present in the crypto market in the coming years as Bitcoin becomes more stable. The stability is good for the market as a whole. It means that we'll probably see less junk in the space and more legitimate projects as this space starts to mature. The downside, of course, is that making life-changing gains in a matter of a couple of years probably won't be easy to do. Not that it ever was, but it'll be something quite rare compared to now or especially previous cycles. So that would be something that I would just keep in mind. And I don't think crypto is going anywhere, but Bitcoin being declared a risk-off asset, even if it is by Blackrock, who owns a ton of it, is kind of a big deal. And risk-off assets are quite stable. And so that's why I say like the 4-year cycle is still in play in a certain sense. We still have the halvings every 4 years. I think the effects of the halvings are going to be diminished. And really just the idea of a cycle may just kind of change, and we may start to follow more of the global economic trends. I mean, if you look at the chart, you can already see the cycles are breaking up. Like, how do you want to define a cycle, right? Like, this was a very clear initial capitalization, very clear very clear bull run, a beautiful bowl-shaped bull run, and then things kind of got choppy, right? And they've been choppy ever since. Like, where does a bull run begin and where does it end? Like, this was like a double top, but this looks like one long move. So, yeah, we'll have to see what happens. I mean, if this bull run goes to 2026, which I think is possible, not 2028. I mean, I don't know. I can't say for sure how far it would go, but you could see price getting into the 200,000 range and still respecting this overall logarithmic growth, right? It wouldn't happen until 2026 where we'd hit those prices. That is kind of like becoming somewhat of a base case for me. I wouldn't call it, completely a base case yet, but it's something I'm certainly keeping my mind open to. Thank you for joining me for Crypto Simulation Theory for an episode looking at Bitcoin, the golden rule, to see if there is a meaningful relationship between Bitcoin and gold. All I can really say is the two assets have followed a very similar path in the past, despite Bitcoin not being a risk-off asset. And now that Bitcoin is considered to be a risk-off asset by the world's largest investment firm, we can anticipate probably that the Bitcoin chart over time will start to look like gold's, and we will see longer bull markets, probably longer bear markets, and much longer consolidation periods. So, if you think it took us a long time to hit $100,000, I think it's going to take even longer to hit $1 million. $1 million Bitcoin to me probably won't happen this decade. Definitely, I don't even think it would happen next decade. I think it would probably be the earliest, by my calculations, sometime around 2041 at the earliest. So if you think about that, that's just a 10x away from where we are today. So yeah, you're not making like crazy moves if you buy and hold Bitcoin, but 10x in return over even that time period is probably better than you're going to get from the S&P, and better than you're going to get from gold. So comparatively speaking, for a fairly safe investment, it's a good deal, right, for the long run. So nothing in this video is to be taken as financial advice. Always do your own research, consult a professional before you make any financial decisions. And be sure to subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed the content, like the video. I've got a Telegram group I'm trying to point to it, but my microphone's getting in the way. It's called Crypto Simulation Theory Telegram, and we discuss the markets in there every single day. We have analysts who share their opinions and views, so be sure to join us there. And I will see you next time in the Crypto Simulation. Bye.